Good afternoon. This is Walt, and I am the head ink slinger over at Hazard Studio. And today on the Bamf podcast, we are talking favorite storyline in comics. Mike Lafferty apologizes. He might have tripped over a Dalek and needs a few minutes to recover, so he might not make the show. Today we have an amazing roundtable talking their favorite storylines and a guest star, Mr. Matthew Pulido. Did I say that correctly?
You got it right.
Nice. And
right on the dot.
Yeah, oh, cool. And he's from Derek and Matt Talk Comics. Derek and Matt Loves Comics podcast, and he's agreed to join us today. How you doing, sir?
Doing really well. Glad to be here.
Excellent. Next in the lineup, going from my right to my left, we have Mr. Jacob Blackman. How are you, sir?
Hello, doing well today.
Just back from SoonerCon, we heard a story about cookies that we are indemnified against sharing, so it's all good. We have Mr. Aid Smith from across the pond. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm good, thank you. All good.
Excellent. And there might be a cattail in my video for the next few minutes.
I thought it was a tentacle for a second. That was
some Cthulhu stuff going on. So today we're talking favorite storylines in comics and how those have inspired us at the game table. Matthew, since you're the guest star, starting with you, what story in comics have really fired your afterburners? And can you give us a couple of examples of how you used that at the table?
Man, I've been thinking about this since we talked earlier, and the problem is I don't GM a lot, so bringing stuff in from my outside sources to the table it's a little few and far between. I would have to say my favorite storyline in comics. I tell people this all the time. Depending on what day of the week it is, it's either Dark Knight Returns or Batman Year One. Batman's my favorite character. I love those two stories. They're the epitome for me. But I can't say that I've ever used anything from either of those stories in a game. I did once run a Deadlands campaign that was entirely based on Seven Samurai.
Oh, nice. Love that show.
Which I did everything I could to not just make it be Magnificent Seven. You know, but it's such a good plot that you can just use in any situation.
Yeah, you had mentioned that on the show a couple of episodes ago, talking about Seven Samurai. Have you ever taken anything and brought it in on the player's side? I know you had also mentioned you have a love for Nightwing, as well as for Batman. Have you ever used any of those dynamics working at the table?
Yeah, I mean, I've played characters in D&D before that were sort of the former sidekick types, moving on to try to be the heroic role. I actually my main character in D&D that I played for years, that I use the name for all of my art stuff, is Taliesin, and he was actually a bard jester in D&D, and it was essentially me saying, I'm going to take everything I like about the Joker and everything I like about the Mask and a little bit of what I like about the Crow and just cram it together into a chaotic neutral character where I'm going to have fun the whole time.
How did that work out?
Fairly well, especially since I'm mostly known for playing lawful good fighter paladin types, and it was completely throwing everybody off when I was doing all this.
So you're the guy that normally renders aid and you know.
Right.
And now you're still picking pockets?
Not so much picking pockets, but there was a lot of people would give us information, and I would have to relay that information to the other players, and I would completely mangle it on purpose. And we'd find artifacts, and I'd be like, "This doesn't look like anything," and just throw it into the darkness, and we'd have to go after it, and just completely random stuff.
As a bard, was there rhyming?
There was joke telling, because he was a jester, so my bardic ability was joke telling.
Can you give us an example of any of the jokes, or has it been too long?
Oh man, it's been a long time. I started playing this character back in high school. I do remember we encountered a vampire at a very early level. Like, we shouldn't have been encountering a vampire at the level we were. So none of us had any character knowledge of vampires. So I made a bardic knowledge check to see what I knew of vampires, and the GM specifically only gave me certain information and a little bit of wrong information because he said my skill was only so high. And then I filtered that through my chaotic neutral lens. So we kind of were working on nothing at that point.
So
it was generally agreed upon that fire kills everything, and that was the route we decided to go. So
did it work?
I think we actually ended up saving the situation was it was the town priestess, and she had been attacked by a vampire, and the town didn't realize that she was a vampire. They just thought she was sick, and we were all sitting there going, "She's a vampire. We have to kill her." And the town's like, "Wait, what? No, you can't do that." And I think we ended up killing someone's so-called master vampire to free her, if I remember correctly.
Right on. So, Jacob, next up in the lineup, favorite storyline in comics, and how have you used it at the table?
Boy, that's a real tough one because I have enjoyed many comic stories out there. Well, I've always tried to be a big epic kind of guy, and so I like using some of the big epic stories that have been found in comics, like the Surtur story from the Walt Simonson Thor days. So I like to have the big story of the big giant villain who is doing stuff in the background, but all of his machinations are resulting in all these minor villains being released or them being set against the heroes while he's doing his thing. So I tend to be doing that kind of stuff in my current campaign.
Is there mustache twirling or fire twirling?
It's not so much the fire twirling. It's more the big. Right now, it's a big cosmic powered guy who's going wahaha and watching everything from afar, hoping that things are going to go his way.
Now, have you ever used a sinister villain laugh at the table?
Oh God, yes. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a voice actor, so I have a plethora of voices that I bring to the table.
Let me hear your best. Let me hear your best villain laugh. Yeah, you got to go. That was too creepy. So
yeah, that gave me chills.
that was not bad. So your players, how are they handling this?
Much like players do, they they make jokes about the villains' names, and they puff themselves up, and then afterwards behind the scenes they would go, "How tough was that guy?" I recently set them up against one of my ancient evil villains who in her past beat up the big cosmic villain, and they were going like, what was that about? Because they had no idea how powerful she was until I told them after the game was over. So
is there a lot of winning, or do the players get beat up too by some of these guys?
There is quite a bit of winning on the heroes' side, but it is often pretty close. I think I've got a good handle on Mutants and Masterminds rules and what I think my players can handle and what is a tough challenge for them.
Usually, Mutants and Masterminds, my toughest challenge is just creating a character. So have they ever come to you and said, "Hey, I recognize pieces of this story from such and such storyline"? I mean, are they that adept in their comics knowledge?
Not necessarily. No, I'm pretty good about twisting things in such a way that I can make it my own. So I don't think I've ever ran anything that would be an obvious ripoff.
So no Mask of the Phantasm hits or anything like that.
No, nothing like that.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, Mask of the Phantasm was a great movie. I liked that.
Yeah, it's spectacular. Everyone should have that a little bit more of that in their gaming.
Right. I mean, even for the time, I mean, that was what, 94, 95 that came out?
Sounds right. Yeah.
And to have that level of storytelling actually end up at the cinema on a cartoon was huge.
Yeah.
The anniversary Blu-ray edition is about to come out.
I know. I'm trying not to buy it because I have the DVD.
I know, me too.
I don't even think it's an anniversary. I think they're just finally getting the rights to put it on Blu-ray.
Ah, okay.
It's probably going to be all cleaned up and pretty, and then Aid's going to watch it and have to talk about it.
Oh, watch that. It's animated. That's fine by me.
But honestly, it's really, it really like the it's like the second season of Daredevil. You know, it's very much representative of that dichotomy of this is Batman, he's a hero. Now this other character over here, they're a vigilante who goes around killing people. These are the differences.
Right.
You know, Daredevil's the hero. Here's Punisher. He's just murdering people.
I'll tell you what, Mark Hamill is my favorite Joker, and my favorite Mark Hamill Joker is in that movie.
Oh, yes.
Really? Why is that?
Just how mantic he gets at the end when the World's Fair is all exploding all around them, and it's like the whole world is ending, and it's like Nero fiddling while Rome burns. You know, he's just laughing as everything falls apart. And he just, I don't know, something about that performance. And I think I've seen him in everything he's done as the Joker. That performance tops everything for me.
Nice. Has anybody ever been able to pull off a Joker imitation at the game table?
I do an okay one. My roommate Mark is better at it.
How about with the chaotic neutral bard, Matthew?
Oh man, see, I'm not much for the. I sort of did. I sort of did a Hamill Joker voice, but not so much the laugh. And I don't even know if I could do the voice anymore.
I think with Hamill's portrayal, the thing that gets me the most is when he gets like uncertain or unsteady about something. That's when he strikes me as the creepiest. Like when he says something like, that's something I didn't foresee, or something like that. It just,
right.
He seems at his creepiest, not to me when he's not when he's manic, but when he's like shocked by something. You know,
I like that he has a range there of sometimes he's the high pitched manic, and sometimes he's like a low gravelly growl.
Yeah,
and it's like it's the same character, but he flips back and forth between that. You know.
Yeah, I just
in fact, in Mask of the Phantasm, when he's talking to Sal, and he says, "Don't touch me, old man," and then he says, "I don't know where you've been." And it's like just one to the other, back and forth.
Right on. That's fantastic. Aid, talking favorite storylines. Hit me.
This is tough, just like Jacob was saying. There's just so much stuff out there. So much. I mean, I'd go with Dark Knight is one of my particular favorites. I have the Absolute Edition because it's so damn good, and Sandman stuff is fantastic, and adore Watchmen as well. So I mean, Watchmen's got to be one of the best. But yeah, it's tough to break it down. I mean, recently, yes, I like the sequels Marvel put out a couple of years ago, which seems like decades ago now. It seems like so long ago. It's numerous relaunches. If you count back the relaunches, like every 4 years, like dog years.
It's only been just over a year.
I know, it's crazy. Exactly. It's like, yeah, every relaunch is like 4 dog years. It's 4 relaunch years. So, yeah, no, I tend to, I can only think of 2 instances of using TV stuff more than comic stuff. I remember way back when we were playing Phase Rip Marvel, and they were showing the old black and white Batman TV series. Not even the 66 one, the way back one. And there was like a plot in that had something to do with a town had been constructed that had like false fronts on it, and they were using it to kind of smuggle some stuff in it. And I remember completely ripping the plot out of that and using it as for a Marvel game at one point. And that was pretty cool. But the one I can think of mostly drawing from exterior sources was Star Trek. And basically trying to get hold of some like unresolved plot lines from stuff from the TV series, and then kind of trying to intertwine that in the actual game itself. The main thrust of that was it was going to be Mirror Universe Kirk, because we never see what happens to Mirror Universe Kirk at the end of the episode. he got put in a stasis tube and then sent to the Prime universe that crashed on a planet in the neutral zone and was lost. And the player characters were sent received this distress call, went out there to find out what it was, and everybody had died on it, and their bodies weren't registered to the Federation because they were parallel universe ones. So apparently this guy died like 80 years ago, but according to this, he only died like so many months ago. Anyway, Kirk had been removed and sold on the black market, and ended up on like this Orion black market thing in the stasis tube. And this was like obviously next generation stuff. So we were like 8 years after he'd crashed. And in the mirror universe, Data and a load of mud women androids had got into a starship, come over to our universe, and we're going to take Kirk back to reclaim the Terran Empire from in the alternate universe. Now, if that makes sense to anybody, well done.
Now, is this why they called you in to help with the new iteration of the Star Trek game?
No, this is why I had to be involved in it, because it's like, okay, if I ever get to put anything like that into the Star Trek game, it's like, yeah, I've every time I talk to the guy in charge, Sam Webb, it's like, yeah, if you ever do any mirror universe stuff or alternate, yeah, sign me up. So we'll see. But yeah, no, I love that stuff. That's the stuff I like drawing out of TV, especially Star Trek, is drawing those unresolved plot lines. They're kind of like dangling there, and it's like, okay, we'll use that. That was never resolved. All the fringy that went to that, okay, we'll have them. So that was pretty cool. Whereas comics, you see, obviously, there's so many different writers, they tend to do that before you get a chance to do it yourself. Or the continuity changes, and it's like, well, it doesn't exist anymore. So, but yeah, that's the only two examples I can think of off the top of my head at the moment.
So speaking of retcons, seeing as that happens all the time, especially with comic storylines, throw it back at you guys. Have you ever retconned right in the middle of a game? Have you ever retconned a game and said, oh, this is a new continuity now because of a relaunch, retitle, renumber, or anything like that?
I did that once. I threw a time travel adventure, and it helped me clean up a few mistakes I had made in some of my previous adventures with continuity. But that was I only did it the once in a campaign.
How about it, Matthew?
Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't, or any of the groups I've played with haven't, because my main high school group, it was my friend that was running was also a huge comics guy. And we talked about this kind of stuff all the time, but yeah, I don't remember ever actually retconning anything.
Aid, any retcons in your past?
Not that I can think of. I mean, obviously, the change of edition in Dungeons and Dragons tended to force. For like third edition was like, hey, and then fourth edition coming looks like, yeah, it's 150 years later, everybody's dead and everything's changed. You go, well, ha. So yeah, that was kind of like forced upon us, but not necessarily done by thing. I do remember at one point having a I think it was second edition actually, before we changed to third edition, and one of the guys in my group was playing the paladin, and he had his future self come back and say, if you don't do this, something bad's going to happen. And that kind of did a little timeline thing going on there that kind of like, okay, because they got well off track, and this guy was basically trying to put them back. So eventually that was kind of like a mini retcon that just basically steered me in the right direction, but it wasn't as dramatic as like, okay, everything's changed. The entire universe is rebooted and now everybody's a pixie. So, yeah.
Does the pixie retcon happen to you often?
The pixie retcons only... No, it hasn't, no. I was going to say, it's only happened 7 or 8 times. It hasn't actually happened at all, no.
Nice. I got accused one time of a game retcon because I was only doing it because number ones sell. So my favorite storyline, and I've gone on record as saying this before, one of my favorite comics of all time, and I really believe it doesn't get the love that it should, is Valentino's Shadowhawk, the original. For those who aren't familiar, it's about a man who gets exposed to something and contracts AIDS, or HIV rather, and he decides that because it was during a criminal action that this had occurred, he puts on a suit, messes with some tech, and goes out and decides to attack criminals to make the city safer before he passes away. Because this was before we really understood what HIV was, how some of these tragedies can be averted through medicines and therapy, and we have much more access and much more knowledge that makes HIV survivable now. So this is before all that occurred. So this man's days were numbered, and it really was a story about a man coming to grips with the time he has left and what he's going to do and leave behind with that. And at the table, I actually put that on an NPC during a Supers game. It was actually Dark Champions, and one of their favorite NPCs turned out to be the off-screen vigilante that they kept trying to emulate, and he was dying. And his death actually spurned them into greater action. So it was interesting to see that them have that take on it and actually play with it that way. One of them even went Punisher grieving for Captain America style and put on the other vigilantes like colors and stuff like that. It was pretty interesting. So with that segment out of the way.
So, sorry, just say that. I was just about to say, I remember reading somewhere on one of the RPG threads about somebody that tried to do that with a player character that was similar to, like, you've got limited time, either for Shadowhawk or like Spawn, because Spawn had the little countdown thing, didn't he? That he had so much staying on.
Right on.
But they would. It was, I think it was Mutants and Masterminds. It may have been Heroes or Champions or something, but it's definitely something that was points building. Obviously, you're trying to get as many points back for all these complications like that. It's like, okay, my character's going to die. And you go, okay, right, how is this going to impact? Oh, it's going to impact the character. Don't worry. It's going to be really important. It's going to be his key focus. How long is he going to die? Well, probably 1,000 or so years will probably be when it's like, yeah, it's not worth any points. Sorry, that's just plot. That's not points, mate. You don't get points back for that. So, yeah, I think, players will twist you if they're clever.
I think recently in the new Savage Worlds Rifts conversion that they just did, they have a great mechanic. It's called Blaze of Glory. It's more directly applied to people who are from the character type juicers. These are people who have an augmented cybernetic drug enhancement system on them. So this thing basically pushes drugs constantly into their body, kind of like Bane from Batman. The upside is they become absolutely superhuman, can take on, can punch a dragon in the face. I mean, just they become nasty combatants. The downside, the maximum lifespan of these guys is 5 years after they get the harness put on. So in the new Rifts, they decided, a cool mechanic would be Blaze of Glory. And basically at the beginning of each game session, you roll a die. And if it comes up a certain number, that game session is the day your character has to die. And during the session, you get to decide how. And when you decide that it's time for you to check out, excuse me, you get all these crazy bonuses. Like super crazy bonuses, extra dice, superhuman damage. I mean, you basically become a walking bomb, and you just can, John Wick your way through the scene and really mess some dudes up. So I think that was a great way to use that same mechanic where you only have limited time, and even though it makes you super powerful, there is going to be a day that you die.
Again,
so
it does take a special player to do that, because most people just want to hold on to their characters and never want to see it. I don't mind if I tend to GM and play 50-50 at the moment. I used to GM everything, but I've always said to the guys, like in my D&D games, if you want to kill me, and it's because sometimes you get down to 0 hit points. Oh, okay, and you won't attack them because they're on 0 hit points and they're going to die. I say, no, if it makes the story more dramatic, kill me. I don't mind. It's fine for me. It's going to be good. So don't worry about it. So most people just want to hold on to that. No, my health. You can't kill my health. I've had it for 4 years. You can't. It's like, So the idea that you can roll a dice and go, right, today's the die. Right, let's go for it. It's kind of like the Call of Cthulhu thing, where it's like, okay, there is a potential chance everybody will die on this floor. Should we just tell a really good story and get over it? Yeah, okay, fine. So I like that.
Regular Savage Worlds has a similar thing. I think it's the Alien Hindrance, that there's the severe version of it where you're going to die. And it comes out of, when Savage Worlds came out of Deadlands. So it's sort of the Doc Holliday, you're slowly wasting away type. But it's a similar mechanic where you're checking every game session to see if this is the time where you're going to kick off.
There's also, I think, something similar in the Horror Companion as well, which is effectively like you're the target, and you're like, okay, if someone's going to be attacked by this scary monster, it's going to be you. You're going to be the guy you're going to be the guy at the back of when you're running away. You're going to be the guy that's the slowest because he twists his ankle. So that's pretty cool as well.
I think Big Eyes Smallmouth had something similar to that as well. Where I think it was called Weirdness Magnet, where you're always the one attacked by the weird thing that steps out of the void.
I keep remembering the thing over and over in my head as you guys are talking about those mechanics, where it says in a zombie apocalypse, I don't have to be the fastest, I just don't have to be the slowest.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I can what was that shark movie that they had where they were experimenting on sharks and they all got smarter and more dangerous? Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah. That was Samuel L. Jackson's character. He got hit by the avalanche before the movie had started, and then during the thing, he's making this epic monologue, and he gets eaten. Oh God! So speaking of some funny bits in film, what are you guys watching for superhero stuff right now, or pretty much any stuff?
Oh my, I think I'm watching it all right now because I'm pretty much watching all the shows on CW: Supergirl, Flash, Arrow, and Legends, and Agents of Shield. I'm pretty much watching all of it.
What did you think of this last season of Agents of Shield?
I thought the story was pretty interesting. I liked how it transitioned from the supernatural, which they had not dealt with at all, and that really transitioned nicely back into the super science aspect that they usually deal with, but it was all based on that supernatural storyline. I thought that was a great touch.
Matthew, have you seen it?
I haven't. I think I've watched a couple episodes of Shield when it first started, and it wasn't my cup of tea. I didn't continue with it.
Yeah, I was the same way. I really first couple of episodes I was like, and then one of my friends on FaceSpace kept calling it Agents of Suck, and he would make fun of it every time he watched it. And I was just like, I'll watch them just so I can have something to joke about with on FaceSpace. And then season 2 came about, and I'm like, it's Buffy ripoff, and Agent Pretty Teeth, and then Coulson is the only interesting one. And then all of a sudden, the Winter Soldier thing happened, and Hail Hydra. And from that point on, that series gets infinitely better. And then the Inhuman thing comes around, and it just keeps getting better and better. But then when they started doing this Ghost Rider thing, I was so happy they were doing Robbie Reyes. I love him as Ghost Rider. I love the look. I love the story behind it.
That car.
That car.
But has he gone now?
What do you mean?
Because the Marvel announcement a couple of weeks ago or a week ago, where they're doing all the legacy books, oh my God, the not Acts of Vengeance, Spirits of Vengeance book that's coming on. It's got a Ghost Rider with a motorcycle again.
Yeah,
so
I
who
think
would be that.
Well, it should have both. Because the whole legacy thing is it's going to have multiple versions of the characters.
Yeah, I'm hoping if it's any of them, it's got to be Johnny Blaze. Although I
thought it was going to be Blaze and Reyes.
Yeah, I really like the Danny Ketch stuff, but if you're going to go legacy, go back to the originals. But that lineup's pretty cool. That's Ghost Rider, Blade, Satana, and Hellstorm, which is pretty cool. So
nice. I just really enjoyed during the show the portrayal of Ghost Rider, because he wasn't always on fire. He his head got all blistery when things got really sick, but it was also the neat way that he portrayed it too, because he wasn't Robbie when he was Ghost Rider. You know, it was like when he went full on Flamehead, the Ghost Rider would take over. You know, and that was cool. And he would always say stuff like, "He just wants out. He wants to deal with this." You know, and it was almost like dealing with a person who has like you know, like anger management issues, you know, but on a supernatural scale. And that some of the special effects, especially with a car, oh my God.
Yeah,
it was
beautiful. It was genuinely creepy when the Ghost Rider would appear, because there was nothing anyone could do about it. He would appear, he would do his thing, and they would try to stop him. Nothing. No, they couldn't do anything about him.
Yeah, what'd you think about the portrayal of Ada/Ophelia at the end of the thing? You know, I mean, here you have a person playing a Marvel Comics LMD, and you know, in the early stages of development, very robotic, which, you know, she pulled off robot very well, you know, but at the end of the series, or the end of the season rather, now this one actress has to play like 3 different versions of this, and then go into the, like, you know, she gets for spoilers for those who haven't seen it yet, you know, she becomes the real girl using the Darkhold and starts experiencing emotion, sensations, and stuff like that. What did you think of that portrayal by the actress?
It was a pretty good, you know, Pinocchio story that, you know, she thought she was ready to be human. Oh, she wasn't. She had no idea what it meant, and you could see it drove her crazy.
You know, I thought when she first translates and you know, she's dealing with the Fitz character, and he's like, "Look, this is what it means to be human. This is what it means to save a life or something," you know, and she does that, and she's like, "Oh my God, that was the greatest feeling." And then she gets hit by a blow from the other side of the emotional spectrum, and she goes full on psychopath. You know, it was neat to see that portrayal.
Yeah.
How about it, Aid? What are you watching in TV right now? Anything animated?
Well, not really. So shockingly enough, I'm not watching any superhero TV stuff because I don't like any of them. I tried, same as you. I tried Agent Shield for about 4 or 5 episodes, and I vaguely remember the Thor episode being the last one that tied into the Thor thing, and it's like, meh, yeah, whatever. Supergirl lasted 3 or 4 episodes. Red Tornado episode was the last one because I just thought, yeah. Flash I never bothered with. Green Arrow I didn't bother with. Gotham I didn't bother with. Legends of Tomorrow I didn't bother with. Yeah, there's just so many of them. It's like, okay, fine, whatever.
I'm seeing a trend.
Yeah, I have to. I'm not watching Gotham, but you know, I have my own reasons for that.
Yeah, I tried watching Gotham, but
yeah. Gotham had potential. Gotham had like, okay, it's like a real worldy version of Commissioner Gordon with before Bruce becomes Batman. You go, okay, that's really cool. And they go, oh yeah, right, we have to bring all these villains in though because we need to. It's like, what way? Oh, hold on, wait a second. Bruce is 9 or whatever. By the time Bruce is 25 and becomes Batman, the Joker's going to be 75 years old or whatever. It's going to be ridiculous. This is crazy. So the idea. Yeah, exactly. The idea that they just didn't say, okay, this is Gotham. Like, you know, you don't need the Batman villains, but they thought, okay, practically we need to bring the Batman's villains into it, but it didn't make sense in the context of the show. Anyway, so TV wise, what I'm currently watching is Fargo Series 3, which is very, very good, and is probably the best thing I'm watching at the moment. I think it's a very good continuation of the movie because it's like parallel stories, and you may have a little bit interlinking and stuff like that. Ewan McGregor plays 2 characters in it, twin brothers, which is absolutely fantastic because every time he's there, it's like they're so different, and he plays them very, very well. So that the first 2 series as well were really good as well. Currently watching Twin Peaks: The Revival, which has just got crazier and crazier. I've just watched episode 8, which was entirely in black and white, set in 1945, which basically didn't see and spent at least 2 or 3 minutes of a turtle or something coming out of an egg in black and white, just sitting there. It's like, okay, I have no idea what the hell's going on in this. Not a clue.
A turtle?
Yeah, it's like this weird turtle bug thing with wings that crawled into this girl's mouth right at the end and then took her over or something. It's just like, what the hell's going on? I had no idea what's going on, and it's a shame because it started off really good. It's the anticipation of like Twin Peaks coming back, and they kind of like teased a lot of characters. Obviously, you see a lot of the characters in the first 2 series, but there's nothing done with them. They're literally just like, oh, let's go and see what Shelley's doing. Oh, she's doing that. But yeah. 2 minutes, they'll have a weird discussion with someone. Go, oh yeah, spooky things happen. Oh yeah, it is, and that's it. And that's all you see him. Even like is it Michael Cera, the guy from Kick-Ass? Cena, Sarah. He shows up in one episode as like the son of 2 other characters and does like a Marlo Brando impression for 15 minutes and then just drives off in the sunset. And you go, what was that about? It's just nuts, and it's a real shame because Dale Cooper, the real Dale Cooper, is effectively walking around in a complete daze, so you don't even get Dale Cooper being Dale Cooper. It's just weird, but I'll stick with it. That's fine. So, that's pretty much it for TV. I did watch all of Westworld. That was annoyingly annoying. But I stuck with the full 10 episodes. That's it. There's nothing. I find it really difficult to watch anything recently. I don't know. I mean, scheduling over here, to be honest, is terrible. Obviously, the true monument is obviously Doctor Who. Sorry, I've got to mention the Doctor Who series. So, but that's okay because BBC schedule that, so we actually get it on a decent time. Whereas where it's like this stuff imported from the US, it's like we'll just tuck it away on the Sci-Fi channel. It's like 11:15 at night. You won't even know about it. So Doctor Who has been particularly good. It's Capaldi's last season. The last episode is coming up this week. We've got 2 masters in it. We've got Potential Regeneration. We've got a Christmas special coming up, which might have him teaming up with the first Doctor, played by the guy who was in the documentary they made about the creation of the TV series. So it's like, okay,
good job. I'd like to see that.
Oh, it was brilliant. It was fantastic. I loved that documentary. The documentary was brilliant, and I loved that Matt Smith turned up at the end of it to kind of give him a nod to say thanks very much. I just thought that was absolutely spectacular. So yeah, this series has been really good. There's been, what are we on? Episode 10. Yeah, there's been like 7 pretty decent episodes. The last episode was absolutely fantastic with the Mondasian Cybermen from the very first Doctor stuff. There was a really dodgy 3-parter that just seemed to contradict itself by episode 3. It's like, everything that was in episode 1, don't worry about that. That doesn't make any sense anymore because we've just say yeah. But everything else has been pretty cool.
Nice. Have you ever checked out Bendis's Powers on the PlayStation Network?
No, because we don't get it in the UK. PlayStation Network did not have it, and again, it's on I think it's on Spike or it's on something else, which was only available on one TV provider. And then when it was available, it was on at like 11 o'clock at night on a Tuesday, but we won't tell you it's actually on. So yeah, it's terrible, absolutely terrible.
Oh man, how about it, Matthew? What are you watching right now?
Well, the tops is The Flash, because out of all of these shows they're doing, The Flash is my favorite. I also really like Supergirl. But yeah, Flash, and I've sort of been thinking about this season, and I came to the conclusion it was probably my least favorite season they've done so far, but it was still really good. So like in the moment, it wasn't like I was disappointed by it or anything. But I'll tell you, anytime Jay Garrick shows up on the show, I am so giddy. It's just, I love John Wesley Shipp's portrayal of Jay Garrick, and I'm so happy every time he shows up. And there was that episode this season where Flash is kind of racing through the Speed Force trying to change time again, and you just see Jay come out of nowhere and take him out and basically lecture him about, constantly messing with the time stream. And it was just like, man, just make the whole show Jay showing up to save the day, because when Barry messes up, I'd be happy with that.
Nice. Is it because you have nostalgia for the character from the original Flash, or is it just his portrayal?
It's just his portrayal. actually, like, Flash is one of my favorite characters, but my Flash is Wally, because I grew up reading all of the Mark Waid, Wally West stuff post-Crisis. So, like, Wally's on the show, but he's still Kid Flash, and it's not quite the same. But they're doing a really good job with both Barry and Jay, and it's just something about John Wesley Shipp as Jay. He strikes such a presence, so I'm really liking that. Yeah, also, like I said, Supergirl, I really liked all the Mon-El stuff this year. I know people were like really of two minds about the Mon-El stuff, the romance stuff, but I liked that. I liked Superman showing up. I really liked Linda Carter being on the show. So, as far as like TV altogether, best thing I'm watching right now is Glow.
I watched a couple episodes. I couldn't do it.
So.
Glow actually gets a lot better the more you watch it. The first couple episodes are very rocky, and I'm now on like episode 5 or 6, and it's really getting really good.
Yeah, I would agree. Especially coming at it from the point of view of being a wrestling fan, the first 3 episodes struck me as they don't know anything about wrestling and they're not doing this right. And when I got to the end of the series, I was like, this is the best love letter of wrestling I've ever seen, and the last episode was perfect. So I definitely had a rocky start. You have to hold in there for the first 3 or 4 episodes.
Now, so here's something interesting about like that you're saying about TV series that take that long, because it's like Luke Cage was similar, I thought, and this kind of thing. Is that good? Because
I don't know.
If you were to say like, okay, right, we've got 3 Lord of the Rings films coming on. The first 2 are going to be shite, but the third one's going to be fantastic. You've got to watch all 3 though to get the entire story. The idea you've got to devote yourself to like 7 hours worth of television that's kind of okay just to get 3 hours that are really good. I find it really weird because it's the same. That's the problem I kind of had with Westworld. Westworld was like some episodes nothing virtually would happen. And by the time you got to like episode 8, there's only 2 more. What the hell? I might as well just see how it resolves itself. And it seems, but I've just watched, this is like four movies worth of time I've spent watching this. Would I do that with movies? I can't believe I would do that with movies.
I'll do you one better on that. I tell people all the time that Star Trek: The Next Generation doesn't get great until the 3rd season.
I agree.
You're basically telling people not to watch, or they're going to watch 2 seasons that aren't that good. Even though my favorite episode of anything is Measure of a Man, and that's in the 2nd season. So
yeah, there's some good episodes in the first 2 series, but series 3 is definitely where it kicks off. Yeah,
right. And I had somebody talking to me one day, and he's like, I tried watching it from the beginning, and I didn't enjoy it. I'm like, no, it doesn't get really good until season 3. And he's like, I got to watch 2 years worth before it gets good. Like, yeah, kind of.
But this is the interesting thing, because obviously you're kind of looking at Star Trek retroactively. If that was coming out, would you? I mean, I'd stuck with Next Generation when it came out because it was Next Generation. This is new Star Trek, for Christ's sake. So yeah, even like the first season was like, okay, this is classic Trek up several notches rather than anything that was really good. But the Netflix shows where you kind of really dump all 10 episodes in one go, and it's like, okay, episode 8 is where it gets good. That's the weird thing, because it's just the progression. Sometimes I just don't feel I've got the stamina to just sit through 8 hours worth of stuff.
Well, also sort of maybe the good mark of the show, and I felt this way with Glow, I liked the first couple episodes better once I saw where it went.
Gotcha.
Like you didn't have the full picture. Once you had the full picture, those episodes became better. And certain shows can pull that trick off of retroactively making the early ones, the early episodes better than you thought they were the first time through.
So
that's not everything. Not every show can do that.
Is that like poor scripting where they said they should have taken that element from episode 5 and put it in episode 2, because by then you've gone, oh my god, okay, that's really cool. Because again, that's the same. Again, I go back to Westworld again. There was stuffing like the late episode. You thought, okay, if you just dragged that forward a couple of episodes, that would have like you gave these troughs and peaks and stuff. Episode 2 would have been fantastic. Episode 4 would have been fantastic. You'd only have like, okay, that's a slow one, but next episode is going to be really good.
Yeah, I think it just varies from show to show. It's just you never know what you're going to get in a situation like that.
I mean, you can look at something like Young Justice, where when you're watching the first few episodes, Miss Martian looks like a total spaz. But then as you get toward the end of the first season, you realize what's going on. And then when you go back and watch that if you do another viewing, you're just like, oh my God, I can't wait till we get to this episode because I realize what it's like a diamond in the rough.
Yeah, and I like stuff that can give you the sort of rewatch value like that, Yeah, that's a perfectly good example there.
So yeah, I think you have to be brave to do a TV series that's kind of like there is a payoff like that, because obviously, like you say, people will just turn off if it's like nothing happening. It's like if I've watched four episodes, that's it. But by episode 6, the plot twist makes you realize that character that has been a complete idiot in the first 6 episodes is a complete genius, and he's doing all this stuff in the background. There's a lot of bravery to basically expect people to sit there for all that time and just like, okay, I've had enough. I'm writing my way out of this one. So yeah,
well, that's why I stopped watching Gotham, because the first season, like I would tell people, for everything they did that I liked, it was like 3 things that I didn't like, but I stuck with it, hoping it was going to get better, and I made it through the whole first season, and it was all right. There was a lot of stuff I didn't like about it, but there was a few things that I did like about it. And then the very first episode of the second season, I was like, nope, I'm done with the show. I don't ever need to watch it again.
So, here's the question for you, everybody. Do you like shows that have like a mystery that is solved at the end of the season, or do we like shows that have like a mystery that goes all the way through? Because so I can think of like The Walking Dead, right? The Walking Dead, generally speaking, apart from one season I can think of, again, because I switched off the last 2 seasons, not season 8, but they tend to have a MacGuffin that needs to be resolved by the end of the season. They resolve it at the last episode of the season, then it goes all crappy, and next season there is a new MacGuffin to be resolved at the end of the next season, and stuff. And like Lost, where you have like a mystery of where they are on the island that's either like, but we've got 7 seasons worth before they resolve it, and it's like, yeah, it was that thing you thought it was anyway. Would you prefer like a big long drawn out storyline, or would you prefer something that's kind of like generally gives you more information? Because there's nothing more annoying to me that basically gives you like no information. They just tease stuff and just say, spooky thing, or Doctor Who does it quite a lot. Who's in the vault? Who's in the vault? We're not going to tell you for 7 episodes who's in the vault. Oh, it's that guy. They could have just gave you that at the first, and it may keep you watching a bit more.
I think the best way to have it happen is to have the mystery solved in the last episode, and then go back and watch the series and go, oh, they were fair with us. I could have solved this if I was looking for
that's true
all the right clues, and I really appreciate that. And that's like one of the things I like about, say, like the Harry Potter books, where someone's name is mentioned in the first book and as a throwaway thing, and then they become a major character in the 4th book. Most of the time the mysteries in those, they play fair with you. You can figure it out if you want to. And I think that's probably the best way to have it happen. I don't know. I'm so used to Flash now, where that's how they do it, is the last episode solves the mystery that the whole series was. But then you have little smaller mysteries within each episode. I don't know. I guess the last season Sherlock was like that too, wasn't it?
Does Flash like have a Sherlock? Yes, Sherlock's fantastic. Does Flash have also have a thread that's going through all the series as well?
Yeah,
or it's kind of like each one is like, okay, season 1 was we've got to solve this problem. Season 2.
Oh no, yeah, it's season to season. It's definitely season to season.
Good.
They start each season saying, oh, okay, this is the problem we're going to be dealing with this year, and then it'll escalate for 2 episodes, and then it sets out them trying to solve it. And they solve it in the last episode.
And is that something that do you think that makes it more enjoyable that they solve it?
I mean, at least it gives you some sort of satisfaction and completion with it. I mean, it'd be cool. They don't know. I guess they know at this point that the show is going to be on the air for a while. But when you first start with a show like that, you don't know how much time you're going to get. So you can't really set up something that's going to go through the entire series, because you might never get to pay it off.
Kind of like X-Files.
Right.
Yeah, because the X-Files special was really good. The first episode and the last episode tied together, and then it just stopped. And you go, okay, I'm really hoping they do some more. Because if they don't, that's going to be really annoying.
Oh, you know what?
Go on, sorry, go on.
You know what show did that? Not comics related at all, but if you've ever watched Justified, I felt like it had a long running theme between the relationship between the main good guy and the main bad guy through the whole series. Each season was its own thing, but the whole, the last episode of the whole series was sort of the tying up everything that had happened between the the hero and the villain throughout the entire run of the show.
So again, going to like plot development as well. This is the main problem as a Doctor Who fan for 30 odd 40 years, whatever. This is the problem Doctor Who has. Doctor Who has a thing where they go, okay, we're having a Dalek invasion at the end of the series. The world's going to be devastated. But at the end of the episode, we've got to put everything back in the box because no one's got to remember the Daleks. And sometimes it just gives you like a really, really poor excuse why they don't remember. Like, why they don't remember Daleks? Oh, well, humans got a capacity to just forget stuff and they just get on with life and it's like, that's terrible. That's the worst excuse ever. That's like saying, well, yeah, people just forget about World War II because they just do. They just forget about it. They weren't there, so they just forget about it. It's like, that's rubbish. And sometimes they do like the whole timey-wimey, wiggly, squiggly stuff. So yeah, I think I like plots resolved, but I don't want to. I like continuation of stuff as well that kind of leads in, and there's like at least some impact, not just back in the box, start again next season, fresh kind of stuff.
Yeah, you don't want the reset button pressed where we're starting where we started in the last season. And I think Flash does that well, I think. I don't know. Supergirl might have been... Actually, Supergirl was weird because there was a big shift in tone when the show went from CBS to the CW. It was the same show, but there was definitely things different because of how the production was being done. So that's sort of a weird example to use. But yeah, Flash definitely he's affected by the things that have happened in the previous seasons. It's not like he's just back to square one at the beginning of each season.
And I remember on one of the episodes from one of your shows, you were talking about how in a current Rebirth universe, some things are moving forward. Like you have Superman and Lois Lane are married. They have their son, Jonathan. And, we just had the announcement that Bruce Wayne just proposed to, or rather Batman just proposed to Catwoman. You were saying how...
It's going to be a lovely
wedding.
It's going to be a lovely wedding. Bats and cats everywhere. It's going to be fantastic.
I think it's going to be a more interesting honeymoon.
Yeah, right. But you made a very good point on the show in that these characters have been around for 75 plus years or more. Isn't it time we advance some of their stories? And I thought that was a very good point.
Right, yeah, and I think Derek had made the point that when the New 52 started, they kind of wanted no one married, and that kind of messed up what happened with Batwoman, them not getting to do the wedding there, and they wanted Superman to be single and not married and everything. And now with Rebirth, with the changes they've made and bringing in his son and everything, we have this Superman who's living in the country, married, has a kid. He's not like a Superman we've ever had before, and it's interesting to have a new version of that character. So yeah, why not change stuff from time to time?
No, I like to see the evolution of characters, which is one of the reasons I stopped reading Marvel after they did the Spider-Man story where they completely reset him back. They got rid of his being married to MJ.
Right.
It's like what?
Exactly.
Like, you've eliminated decades.
Yeah, exactly.
Of plot.
Yeah, the wedding is not as though it happened 3 months earlier. It's like this is like 20 years worth of stuff you've just got rid of. It's just crazy. And again, that is the main problem with comics, is the idea that these characters don't evolve because people don't want to see kind of like anything less than static. So and everyone's so cynical. Obviously, when you say, okay, well, Batman's dead now, and we go, well, 6 months later he's going to be back. Don't worry about it. We don't say that. We're like Captain Marvel back when he died back in the 70s, and technically speaking, hasn't come back. People weren't on the internet going, okay, well, he's going to be back tomorrow. Don't worry about it. And it's good. And I think like I say, the Superman stuff changing, the Batman idea, obviously the Batman idea evolving that character, whether or not we'll see a reset. And I mean, even if, the idea that you could have Batman married to Catwoman and it could possibly go on from that storyline could go on for 10 or 15 years, effectively for the next generation of comic readers. That's perfect. That's fine. We don't have to worry about being in our 60s or whatever, going, okay, well, I remember when Batman was married. This is terrible now. Why they changed it? But yeah, it's strange. I think we just got. I think like you say about the Amazing Spider-Man stuff. We're of that age where we kind of remember the marriage as our kid, but we've still read the comics through, and it's really difficult to see changes made to something you effectively have been familiar with for like the last 30 years or whatever. So
But on the opposite of that, you have what they're doing with Spider-Man now, where he's got his own company and he's slightly more wealthy and everything, and that stuff's been really fun, and it feels like a nice natural progression of the character. You know, but him getting married was a progression of the character.
But now it's
they just
tumbling down, isn't it? They're trying to get rid of that as well.
Yeah, because that's
that's
what Marvel
the problem.
does.
Yeah, they've kind of like, okay, this is the new status quo. This is nice. Oh yeah, but it's only gonna last 6 months because people didn't like the new status quo.
Yeah, I mean, at least like with Superior Spider-Man, you got a couple of years out of it. But
that was cool. I don't care what anyone says. I really like.
That stuff is great. That stuff is great. But I remember when it happened, everybody was like, "Oh, this is horrible. They've ruined Spider-Man." And as you said, people are saying, "Well, you know, it's going to be back to normal in 6 months."
Yeah, I thought Superior was really good, and I'm also one of the people that really enjoyed Bucky as Cap.
Bucky as Cap was brilliant. The Death of Captain America story is really good.
Yeah,
and because they brought Bucky in as Cap, it's like, crikey, this actually may stick around for a bit longer. This is quite interesting. Yeah, that was some of the best stuff. Captain America, that was really good.
I didn't mind Sam Wilson as Cap either. So
no, not at all. I thought I really enjoyed. I think it was issue 2. He was on a plane, and there are these 2 kids basically sitting aside from him, and they're basically talking around him about him, you know, being as Captain America, this new Captain America. And at one point, the kid raises the phone to look at the screen and realizes that the jawline match. He's like, "Oh my God!" And they start talking to him, and it was such a nice thing of having them talk about. One of them was like, "Well, this isn't the real Captain America," and the other kid was like, "You know, he's wearing the suit and he's got the shield. That's the real Captain," and so forth and so on. And seeing Sam Wilson's thoughts through the whole thing, and that was most of the issue, but it was so fantastic, so well done. I really appreciated it.
It's the other thing about this is obviously we've seen legacy characters. We've like you were saying about the Flash. We've seen Barry Allen go to Wally West, go to, you know, potentially the Impulse was going to be a potential one. Then obviously then we went back to Barry. Cap has got a weird thing at the moment that he's obviously like, you've got Sam Wilson, but you've also got the original Cap, and it's like you're kind of stealing each other's thunder. Instead of just going, okay, this is the new Captain America, deal with it. He's a black guy, he's the new guy, get on with it. Steve's gone. Don't worry about Steve. And they go, oh yeah, but we've got to bring Steve back and then it's like, okay, then you can only like, you know, can you like one Cap? Can you like both Caps? Or like so yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame Sam didn't get a chance to shine on his own as being a Captain America for a set period without, you know, like the Bucky era as Cap. If he'd just been on his own and just done it, and then Steve came back, fine. But I think the idea of like 2 competing Caps is possibly a problem.
Yeah, it's sort of like when they did Batman Inc. and you had multiple people as Batman.
Yeah, that was crazy.
You know, and I like some of that stuff, but I get what you're saying. Like, is Dick Grayson really going to be accepted as Batman when Bruce Wayne's standing right over there in the costume?
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that happened. Yeah.
So with us rounding out the bottom of the hour, any final thoughts from our guests, starting with Aiden?
Not really. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I hope there's. I know what we haven't talked about because just as a lot of final thing, we haven't talked about the Inhumans trailer.
Oh my God, Lockjaw!
Not being funny. That's what I say because again, my cynical head is like, okay, it's a TV. Meh. Oh, Lockjaw. That was pretty much my response. But he's not got the little dealy thing on his front of his head, which is a shame. But Anson Mounts is in it, who's from Hell on Wheels, which I absolutely love. The guy from Game of Thrones, cool. But again, it just looked like, okay, we're going to send him to Earth. He's going to be dressed in a suit because we've done to give him costumes. He'll blend in like the day the Earth stood still. They will just do that. He'll just be on Earth and he'll fight regular guys. And Medusa, I would like to see Medusa's hair move. I think if they animated Medusa's hair and it was always constantly moving, that would be awesome. Well, but the idea is just kind of limp and down there. It's like, yeah. But Lockjaw was the thing.
Yeah. Apparently, from what I've read, that hair is mostly CGI.
Is that why it looks weird?
It does. That's why it looks weird because for the set, the actress Swan, I believe was her name.
Mm-hmm.
She had to at one point she shaved her head so she could fit. There's like a headpiece that comes down so far, but the rest of it's CGI.
Yeah, because there's that shot of them coming down the stairs. I would just like to have seen their hair just moving around on its own in the background. That'd just been cool because the modern artists when they draw Medusa nowadays, she's got like not just hair that moves around. It's like no, she's got thousands of strands of hair. They just go everywhere. They fill a cover. Don't worry about it. So yeah.
When Madureira was drawing the Inhumans book, her hair was everywhere, and at one point she talks to Captain America, and she's like throwing cars with her hair and stuff. I thought the art was just great.
Yeah, if her hair is completely CG, then it's kind of disappointing that it's not moving around.
What'd you think of the trailer, Matthew?
I haven't seen this.
Oh, you must go immediately.
I saw the teaser image, the poster that came out, but I hadn't seen the trailer.
I did like the bit as well where Black Bolt just does a little huff and blows the car back. That was cool. But I mean, you get Anson Mount to play a character and he can't speak. This is ludicrous to me. But yeah, it's crazy.
The fact that Black Bolt's supposed to be like a heavy hitter. The fact that and this is a guy that's gone against Thanos, and the fact that somebody with an ASP baton smacks him in the back and causes him to huff, that threw me a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, he's tough. He's not invulnerable. Keep that in mind. Being a guy who looks at the stats of superhero characters closely for my own personal reasons, he is tough, not invulnerable, so that can actually happen.
Right on. What'd you guys think of Karnak?
I like the look. It's again, all these things are interpreted for the television audience, and so you're not going to get perfect renditions of anything. But I liking what I'm seeing in the trailer so far.
We got a brief shot of Triton, which looked really good. I was a bit disappointed that Gorgon hasn't got the cool legs that he should have.
Yeah,
because that's the disappointment. And I know some people have said that the shot where they've got of like the Inhumans on Atalan, and it's like a panoramic view of like the all the people standing like this, the citizens of Atalan. They just look like guys that just like they could be extras for Game of Thrones. There's no like weird looking guys. They should be like the big tall guy, the blobby guy, the guy with the wings. That would have been nice as well, because that's the point of Terragu missed. Obviously, they go in there, they get powers, and they come out again. So
I'm curious if some of this is pre-production shots though, because I've seen that before.
I hope so.
Where I know I've seen a trailer where they've had certain scenes and then you see it on the final product and things are slightly different. So I'm curious if they'll put in some Inhumans.
Yeah, I really hope so
in the actual finished product.
Because even if it's just for background flair, obviously, I don't know if anyone's actually said this, if this is anything to do with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and their Inhumans thing, because I don't think that's been specified yet. But you don't have to worry about CGI and those guys for every single episode. But the idea you're showing like this diverse Inhuman population and everybody just looks like they're wearing leather armor or something, just like, okay, that's just weird. So it would be nice to see some proper weird stuff.
But absolutely, it was the Lockjaw sold it for me. I was going, okay, it's a Marvel show, I'll probably watch it because it'll have some decent writing at least. And then Lockjaw shows up, and I'm like, I'm a kid again.
He was good. He was pretty decent CGI as well. He looked pretty cool.
Yeah, and for Matthew, just stay till the end of the trailer. You get some fun Lockjaw bits.
Okay, this is sort of the same reaction I had to the Black Panther trailer when we saw the Man-Ape, and it was like, man, I can't believe we're seeing the Man-Ape in a movie.
Do we actually know what he's called in the movie? Is he going to be called Man-Ape? Because Man-Ape just sounds really weird for a name of a character nowadays.
Well, sort of the. Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure they'll just call him M'Baku.
Yeah, pretty much in the Marvel movies, you're lucky if they call anybody by their code name. So
that is true, actually. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah. At no point is in the Wonder Woman movie did they ever call her Wonder Woman, and in fact, in the credits, she's listed as Diana.
That's a good point.
Yeah, right, I'll forgive that one though, because that movie is very good.
Yeah.
So I have a wailing German Shepherd in the other room who's about to. He's going to breach the door, I think. And if you've never seen, 42 teeth move at 35 miles an hour, it's something to behold. So, Matthew, I really want to say thank you for coming on today. And if people want to check out the podcast, can you give us some essentials on how to contact you, where to send an email, and how to catch the show?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like we said, it's called Derek and Matt Love Comics, and you can find us Derek and Matt Love Comics at Facebook, Derek and Matt on Twitter. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Podbean. If you want to send us an email, it's derekandmattlovecomics@gmail.com. And we've been starting to read some listener mail, and we would love to have more of that. So yeah, check the show out and let us know what you think.
And Jacob, got more Superpower Legends coming out?
Actually, today was the release of the Superpowered Legends product for jobbers. These it's three supervillains who are no one's arch nemesis. These are just a couple of villains who are there to cause havoc and cause trouble for any random occurrence. You've got Big Guns, who's a guy with big guns, Deadly Asp, who is a woman with an artifact Egyptian staff, and El Diablo Toro, who is a demon-possessed bull.
I didn't see the big guns coming. That was So everybody go check out Superpowered Legends. Aid, anything on the front coming out?
Nope, not yet. No, we've got the Star Trek role-playing game coming out soon. I believe Gen Con might be the date for that. I think PDFs may be going out to people possibly soon. But yeah, that's pretty much the only thing I've been working on recently that's on the horizon.
Can I just say that Klingon miniatures armada looks beautiful?
There's some really nice. They've done some really nice stuff. Really nice stuff. I just saw raw text when I was doing my stuff, and just seeing the pages and the layouts just looks amazing. I think it's such a nice book.
And to plug product for Fainting Goat Games, because Mike's podcast, they just released the Supers version of Improbable Tales, which you can pick up the latest Improbable Tales, which you can pick up on Drive-Thru RPG. And with that, like I said, 42 teeth, 35 miles an hour. This has been Walt, Matt, Jacob, and Aid for the Bamf Podcast.